Is Puss in Boots really that good? The short answer? Yes. Let me explain why. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. My name is Brandon Aries, and welcome to The Sanctuary. A little over a week ago, my girlfriend and I went to the movies to see the new Puss in Boots movie. I gotta be honest, originally, I was not planning on seeing this movie, but boy, am I glad I did. If there's one thing I like about movies I don't plan on seeing, is when I end up seeing them and they end up being really good, and then I end up changing my mind. This was one of those movies. I had no intention of probably ever seeing it, even if it was on a streaming service. By the way, the video about streaming services ruining going to the movies, check it out, cards up here. But then I go and see Puss in Boots, and I'm like, damn, I take that back. Bad, Brandon. This movie bangs. Let's talk about Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This film was genuinely enjoyable as an adult. And the reason I say that is because, to me, I feel like this movie was made for those kids that grew up watching Shrek. I say that because there are some things that happened in this film that I'm surprised got past being a kid's movie. But you know, most kids' movies, it's targeted towards kids. You have kid-like jokes that are kind of corny and you just acknowledge it. Don't get me wrong, some of those are here, obviously. For me, this film feels like it was for the Shrek kids that are now grown up. Are you one of those kids? I mean, if so, see the movie. It's also crazy to think of just how wide the Shrek universe has. Wait!
Brandon, what are you saying right now? Are you saying that there's a Shrek cinematic universe just like the Marvel cinematic universe?
What? No! There is no Marvel talk in this video. The fact that a character from Shrek that isn't Shrek is getting so much support and acclaim is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, I loved Donkey and the Gingerbread Man, but to them having their own movies, I never really thought about that. And even Puss in Boots. Antonio Banderas reprised his role as the boot-wearing Garfield. I always thought this was a good casting. Antonio Banderas' voice just has so much, swagger. Can you tell I practiced it? But with every line he delivers, you feel that confidence, that arrogance, that jousting mentality of like, face me, you coward. I laugh at the face of death. I want to preface this. I went into this movie cold. That means no trailers, no looking it up on IMDb, no avid searches on Letterboxd, nothing. Just my good old love for cinema. The rest of the cast blew me away. You have people like Florence Pugh, Salma Hayek, Olivia Colman, John Mulaney, Ray Winstone, and I mean, let's not forget Wagner Moura, the guy who played Death. What I loved about some of these character choices and castings was that as I was watching and experiencing the movie, once the character spoke, I immediately knew who it was. So I'm there thinking, holy crap, you're in this movie? Wait, they're in this movie too? And when it comes to animated films, I love that so much because that just further immerses me into the experience of the film. A good thing about this movie is that for me, I didn't feel like I was disconnected. Like I didn't feel like there were tons of movies that I had to watch in order to get to this point. Like I could just watch this movie and be done. And it felt good being back in the quote Shrek universe. I don't think I've seen a Shrek movie since maybe freshman year of high school. Brandon, you gotta stop making yourself sound old. Anyway, obviously one of the biggest points we have to talk about is death. Wagner Moura did an amazing job at being the big bad wolf, aka Death. He, just like Antonio Banderas, you can feel the delivery of each and every line he says, the conviction, the stare, the whistle, the arrogance. I mean, this is death itself. Death comes for us all. There's no escaping that. And the big bad wolf knows that. The big bad wolf is Puss in Boots' first actual challenge. He's the only person that's ever actually struck fear into Puss in Boots. Even Puss in Boots is like, what is this feeling? And the big bad wolf is just feeding off of that fear. And I think throughout the film, they nailed the impression of fear. With that, for me, kind of tied into anxiety, how the two mesh together and create just one bad time for anyone. Things start getting blurry and disoriented. Your heart's going at the speed of sound. You're looking everywhere because in a way you're getting overstimulated. Sometimes it feels so hard to breathe, like you're being suffocated. And they captured all of that brilliantly, especially with the addition of Perrito being like a support dog and how he said like his dream is to be a therapy dog. I love that. And the chemistry between Perrito and Puss in Boots was so good and so codependent on each other, especially when Puss in Boots was going through his anxiety. Perrito was there to help him, to fulfill his purpose. Another thing I like about Perrito is that he was very grounding as a character and grounded those around him. Having no family 1 minute to having a team, a crew, the friendship crew, including Kitty and Puss in Boots, was amazing. It's like a dream come true for him. He couldn't have asked for anything else. Another point that I picked up on was life experience. Obviously, the trope of a cat is that they have 9 lives, and they play that in this film. Puss in Boots has evidently gone through all of his lives. He's on his last life. So his quote, last wish is to have 9 more lives. And so that way he can keep going on his adventurous crusades. However, throughout the film with his journey, he realizes that he doesn't need 9 lives. He's got everything he wants right now in this life. There was a part in the film that I truly loved, and that was when Puss in Boots is trapped, and around him are all the other lives that he lived, all different parts that built up to who he is now. Every life is different. That also correlates with the life experience. Obviously, we need to experience those different parts of our lives to make up who we are right now. And Puss in Boots realized that. He was like, I'm not like any of you. He's like, as much as I would love to have 9 more lives and relive these moments again, that's not who I am anymore. And I think that was a great way to accept what's in front of you. You're not the same person you were 10 years ago. Same reason you're not the same person as 2 years ago, or even 2 days ago. And for a kid's movie, that was extremely insightful. Obviously, we as human beings don't have 9 lives. So we just experience all of that in one life. I found it funny as Puss in Boots realized like he's not immortal anymore. He's got to like hang up the cape and hat and the boots and try and just retire, live a normal life. Just the way of life now. This is me. But he just can't let go of that need to explore, the crusade, the hunt, the adventure. And even Kitty, a former love interest that comes back, had told him like, you are so in love with yourself. You can't put anyone else before you. And I'm glad that at the end, he realized, you're right. I'm not the only person. And I like how at the end, he realized that. When he got cold feet from marrying Kitty, he had fear. And he acknowledged to her at the end that he was afraid. Obviously, one of the biggest points of this film is overcoming your fears and facing them head on. And that's exactly what Puss did. He faced death. He stared him right in the face. And he also conquered his fear of telling Kitty how he felt. He didn't want to leave her at the altar, but he was afraid. Overcoming those fears, he found a new and noble way to be that same Puss in Boots that everyone loves. Overall, I can't believe I learned so much in a kid's movie. Crazy. But those are my thoughts / points on Puss in Boots. In terms of a rating, I would probably say it's an 8.1 out of 10. But that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, please be sure to drop a like. It is always so much appreciated here in the sanctuary. If you're new here, subscribe and hit that notification bell for every week this lover boy pops up in your feed. And in case I don't see you, my friends, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace.